Salve a tutti, sono Almarok e benvenuti in un nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui per fare un'intervista a Will Sarginson, famoso per essere stato batterista dei Cradle of Filth, dei December Moon e dei Blood Divine. Prima di iniziare lo ringrazio per la sua disponibilità, per aver accettato di essere qui oggi, vi lascio l'intervista e vi auguro buona visione. Nice to meet you and thank you for staying here today.
You too. Nice to meet you too.
Why you started to do music and why you started to do with metal music? Tell me about the beginning of your career.
So I started when I was at school. I formed a band with some friends. It was just a thrash band. Actually, no, the first band was just I guess kind of like a Hellhammer kind of band. I was very young, about 13, 12, 13. And then I joined a thrash band. And then because I started out with rock and metal. And then I started to get into heavier things like thrash, and I was a massive death metal fan. And I formed a death metal band called Solemn. We did 2 demos, and that was around the same time that Cradle were doing their demos. I met Paul Ryan, and I knew Dan from going to local gigs and stuff. And they were a death metal band in the early days. And I remember saying to Paul when I met him at college, when he said he had a death metal band, I was like, "You don't know about fucking death metal, fuck it." And then he gave me a copy of their rehearsal, and I was like, "Fuck, this is really good." Because the early Cradle stuff, I don't know whether you're familiar with the early demos, but it was really just really good death metal. Um, anyway, so we played about maybe 4 or 5 gigs locally with Cradle, and then their drummer had a few issues, so I joined, and it went from there really. Just after the TFD, the Total Fucking Darkness demo, and we went on tour. We did a few shows with Cancer and Cadaver, and it was going really well. Um, the thing is, and this is the bit that I mean, I'm still friends with all the guys. I don't know any of the band now, but I'm still friends with Paul and all of the old guys. Dan. At the time, the second wave of black metal was getting very popular, and I was still my roots were in death metal, and I was starting to listen to other music, progressive rock like Genesis, Yes, King Crimson, and then into jazz and stuff. And I really didn't have much time for the second wave black metal, with all the makeup and stuff. I mean, it was good for what it was, but it wasn't my thing. So I was very much drifting apart from the band. They were very much going in that black metal. And looking back, they were making the right decision because it's very popular and they were very good. And I think their music was a good mix between the English sound, English death metal, thrash metal sound, mixed with second wave black metal. Anyway, so I left. I moved on to other things. I didn't play for a couple of years, and then I got back into things with December Moon. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of it. And also, obviously, I went back to Cradle in 1999 for the Cradle to Enslave EP. But yeah, so that's basically it. That's basically how it started. College friends into the death metal scene, because the death metal scene in 1988 to 1991 it was the best.
Let's talk about your work with Cradle of Filth. Can you talk me about your story in the band and, of course, the realization of From the Cradle to Enslave?
My first part of the band before they were signed, and just when they signed with before they signed with Cacophonous, I've just told you about. I mean, that's essentially all that went down with that. For the Cradle to Enslave, I remember Rob. So I lived in this house. Rob lived across the street, and we had Phil from Extreme Noise Terror in the same street. Anyway, Rob came around and he said, "Look, there's some problems with Nick, and they were fighting. I don't know what the difficulty was." And he said, "Do you want to do it?" And I said, "Well, I guess." And I spoke to their manager, Faye, at the time, and she was like, "Look, just learn the set, get everything down, and if shit hits the fan, we'll fly you out, and you can just play." So there's big problems with this. So I'm a rock and roll drummer. I'm a rock drummer, And if you know how Nick Barker plays, fucking insane, very, very, very good drummer. My feet could never go that fast. Went into the studio, rehearsed, did the EP, went up to Liverpool Park Street to record the EP, which was fine. Just 3 tracks I played on. And Dan said to me, he said, "Well, do you want to do it?" And I said, "Well, I can't." He goes, "Well, why not?" I'm like, "Look, I don't play like that. I would have to literally go and start from scratch and relearn everything to play those parts." And they had a gig. They had a gig at Dynamo Festival in Holland, literally about maybe a month away or 2 months. Not enough time to play everything perfectly. If I'm going to play something, I want it to be perfect. Also, I know how much the Cradle fans would, if I play one thing wrong, they will be, he played that wrong, And I was like, look, I don't want to, I can't do it. I can't learn everything perfectly in a month. If you want to give me 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, then cool. But they had a schedule. They had a record that was due after the Cradle to Enslave EP. They were doing another record. It's just too much. So I said, look, no, get someone who is already, established. Get someone who's already really good, and they'll just slip in and do the job. And they did. They got Adrian in the end. But before they got Adrian, they got a guy called Dave Hersheimer, and he did one show. And I never heard that show because it was obviously the Dynamo. But apparently it didn't work. It wasn't very good. And I can't think of anything worse than being in front of a festival crowd and making a mistake. That's just so. So anyway, yeah. So they went on and they eventually got Adrian, and I went off and did some other bands which also didn't work out.
You have worked with Ninepence guitarist Stuart Anstis. How you remember about it? What do you think about this that?
I always liked Stuart. He would always say things that were on his mind. If he thought something was shit, he'd be like, "That's shit," and he would just tell you. We always got on really well. I think when I did the Cradle to Enslave, there was some tension between him and the rest of the band, and you could sense that tension. But you know what? He was a great guitar player. He'd come in, and we would rehearse the songs that we were working on. And yeah, I've got nothing but good memories of Stuart. And it was difficult as well because I was in a band with Paul Ryan and Paul Allender at the same time, and there was a lot of tension between them. So they were always like, "Wow, they're doing this, they're doing that," and it was kind of like when I did the EP, it was, yeah. Anyway, it was just a bit strange. But yeah, no, Stuart was a good guy. He was always kind of, at the time when I worked with them, he was very serious and very businesslike, and he just wanted everything to sound good and for everyone to do their best. And uh, sometimes that wasn't the case. Sometimes people just wanted to have a doss and have a laugh and have a drink. But yeah, I've got nothing but good memories. Great guitar player. It's a shame that he's passed now because he went too young. I think he could have done a lot more, but I think he got. I mean, he just disappeared. He just kind of got pissed off with the whole thing and just went and wanted to lead a normal life, which I can relate to because that's exactly what I did. So
Now let's talk about December Moon.
pretty simple, really. I mean, like I say, Rob lived across the street and then he moved around the corner. So we had this like Ipswich triumvirate of just, annihilated Extreme Noise Terror, me and Rob. And I mean, Dan still lives around the corner from me. I still see Dan. So this area of Ipswich was very, very metal. So Rob had these songs. He wanted me to play drums on them. We just got together. We used to rehearse at my house. And we also rehearsed in his pig farm. And then Spine Farm contacted us, and Rob was talking with Spine Farm, and they said they were interested in doing the album. So of course we were up for that. I got the December Moon contract and the same day that the Blood Divine guys came to the house and asked if I wanted to play. So I went from doing nothing to having two bands. You know, it was good. It was crazy. So we rehearsed some more, got the songs together for the record, and there was Cradle were playing a show in London at the Astoria, which was a great venue. It's not there anymore. And Marco from Spine Farm came over. Now, Marco from Spine Farm is also plays in Beherit. So we loved Beherit as kids, as younger people, younger men, whatever. So that was a trip. So he came over. He hung out with us, and we signed the deal, which wasn't, looking back, it wasn't the best deal, but and we recorded it at the Academy. So, and I remember doing that album for 2 weeks with Rob, and then I think I had a week where I had off, and then I was back up at Academy to do the Blood Divine album. It was in close succession anyway. I don't really remember the dates, but yeah, that's essentially how it worked. He had the skeletons of the songs. We worked on the songs. We did a couple of songs together. I think they were Nocturnal Transcendency and Twinned with Destiny, and the two keyboard tracks. But other than that, it was just me and Rob. We just did it all ourselves, apart from when we got to Academy, obviously Mags produced, and he did a great job. But it's simple as that. No, bullshit or anything.
Do you have any music project after December Moon?
Nothing that came. No, so I played with a band called Vero, and it was kind of a kind of a pop rock kind of a band, but there was a lot of interest and a lot of bullshit. And I did that for about a year. We released an album on Martin Hooker's label. He used to run Music for Nations, and that bombed. And you know what? I got, after about a year of that, I mean, this is well after December Moon. This was after everything. After that, I got so sick of all the bullshit that comes with just trying to make a living as a musician. And I wanted to start a family. I wanted to just be normal. I just wanted to have a regular job, and I just wanted to go to work, get paid at the same time every month, rather than, I just got bored of everything. So that's what I did. I just quit and just got a proper job. So, but yeah, that was the last thing that I did. And obviously I worked with Deinonychus in Holland. Before that, I did 2 records with him, and he's a twisted, dark genius. I love Marco Karen, and those Deinonychus records are 2 of the best records that I did, I think. And the Extreme Noise Terror record, that was a trip. But yeah, after Vero, I just gave up.
If you want to be remembered for an album in your career, which is and why?
I don't want to be remembered. I don't think it's important to be remembered. And I'll quote Frank Zappa on that. I don't think who cares, If people enjoy, that's all that matters. But when I'm gone, I don't, as long as I don't have a specific record. I think there's good elements of each record that I've done, but I don't have, hey, I tell you what the answer will be. I haven't made the record yet. One day I'll make that record, and that's what you can remember me by. But I haven't made it yet, so.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Nice one, mate. Bye. Bye.